oh, you guys, I'm freaking out. Like, I'm going through a rough time being me. And it happens, right? And I love that Melinda was telling a story about, the midlife and the change and how our bodies are just getting weird. Mine is like bloating and then melting. And something has happened. I mean, nothing's happened. It's just that I'm stuck. Like, I'm stuck in a place with myself. It doesn't feel good. And so I've done the thing that I've done many times in my life. I hired a professional. And, I'm going to get back on the couch and talk with the little white lady who has a better education than me and work it out, right? I'm going to work it out. And I think about what it is that I want from that. And what I want, I'm going to say, is to live in reality, right? Not whatever it is that's stirring in me that's not okay, I guess. And I love this quote. I want to read it to you. I used to sort of know it by heart. I read it a long time ago in a therapist's bathroom. I was pooping, and it was right, like on a little sign by the toilet paper. And it said, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Is that the thing? Okay, it's from Florida Scott Maxwell. Does anyone know about her? She was a therapist, a playwright, and a poet. And she wrote a wonderful book about life and getting older called The Measure of a Life. And she was just awesome. And she says, you need only claim the events of your life to make yourself yours. When you truly possess all you have been and done, which may take some time, you are fierce with reality. And that's what I hope for myself. And I know that one of the ways, or this way, this little adventure on the couch I'm embarking on means that I will be going through so many things, the story of my life again, I guess, from this place, from this perspective. And I was thinking about Amparo's theme tonight, which is bearing it all. And not bearing like, Melinda going to the store with her clear t-shirt, but although that kind of works, but bearing it all, right? I think that's what she meant. Or could it be both? Amparo? Okay. So anyway, I don't know why this popped in my head, but I think this story has to do with something when I was young and I couldn't bear it. And what happened was I was in my 20s and really fucked up, as we are in our 20s. And I went to this Halloween party, and of course, I was dressed as a sexy cat, as we do in our 20s. And I went to this house, and it was these two guys lived there, Greg and Bill. They had been a couple, but their relationship had changed, so it was no longer romantic. It was, they had become a family, I guess, the two of them. And their house was so cool. It just had art and weird shit all over, and, there wasn't a regular dish. Like, every sort of vessel was made by somebody out of clay, and they wore weird clothes, and, they had a bunch of, in the backyard, these kiddie pools that they had put different colored water in, and I think some people were on acid. And I just felt like, oh my God, this is the best place. This is the place I've always wanted to live. It was nothing like, the middle-class suburban world that I grew up in and always felt weird in. And it just turned out that they had a roommate, she was moving out, and they had a room for rent. And they liked me, and they invited me to live with them. And I thought, oh my God, this is the greatest day of my life. And it kind of was. And I love them so much. Now, the thing is, they had both lived in LA and sort of had this like little pseudo celebrity life. And Greg was a Shakespearean actor, and he directed Shakespeare plays in LA, and he was so proud. He always had like these sort of third-rate celebrities would be in. He did one that Charlene Tilton, remember her? She was in one that was very impressive to me. I think she was on Dallas for a while. Is that right? See, none of us know who she is. And anyway, Shelley Winters really loved his mom. That was another thing about him. And, you know, they were glamorous people to me. But Greg also had HIV. And he had been HIV positive for 12 years. And this is like in 1992. So it seemed like a miracle that he hadn't gotten sick in all that time. And he believed that the reason he hadn't gotten sick was because he and Bill were Nichiren Daishonin Buddhists, if anybody knows what that is, and they chanted Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. And it was something I knew about, weirdly. I had a friend in LA who did this chanting, and Greg believed that chanting was keeping him alive, and also that he had an herbalist as his doctor who gave him all these tinctures that he took. And one time Bill was like, that's all bullshit, and he drank all the tinctures, and then we had to take him to the emergency room because he was like barfing and had a fever. And so we were all kind of like, Anyway, I was so excited to live there, especially because if Greg did heal himself, then that would mean I knew how I could heal myself if I got cancer and died like my mom did. And I could have that thing. And also, like, it would make us famous. So I thought, this was great. I want to be part of it. And also, Greg was someone who's one of these people that just had this crazy appetite for being alive, you know, and he would, like, if he got a hair, he would just, like, want all the Buddhists to come over, and he would make chili for all of them. And one time he got into the kombucha, is that what it's called? The mushroom thing? And this was in the 90s before it was a thing. I had never heard of it. And you had to grow a mushroom on a mushroom, and then you had to give it to someone so it doesn't die. And then you have to make all these jars of tea, and there's all these jars in our house. Like, the mushrooms are going crazy. And just, I mean, he was incredible, and he would do amazing things. He would get on the phone. He had like his own Make-A-Wish Foundation, and he would call up, like, you know, a Broadway theater and say, "Hi, I'm dying and I really need to see Phantom of the Opera before I pass out." And he would get these things. So he was magic. You know what I mean? Anyway, he also had, I guess, the dark side of that appetite. And there were times when his passion was destructive and was scary. One time I came home and the house was silent in that weird way that the house is silent after something fucking bad happens. And I guess I wouldn't say, like, from right now looking back at it, I wouldn't say it was that scary, but at the time, for me, it was. And I walked in the bathroom, and he had taken all the toothpaste and, like, gone, like, just sprayed it all over, like, you know, a Crest Jackson Pollock, I guess, you know, just, it was insane. And nobody was around. Nobody was home. I just didn't know what to do. And I was young. You know, I was in my 20s and wasted all the time. And I was a young 20. I was dumb. I didn't know what to do, and so I just went in my room and got high. And later, Bill cleaned it up, because Bill was someone who, I mean, Bill's dream was to be high and sleep for a long time. That's what he wanted. And he was dedicated to Greg. He was loyal. He stayed with someone who had been his lover and became like his terrible dying child, you know. But to me, He was very good looking, and to me, he seemed like this mystical gay wizard. Like, he always had these interesting things to say, and whenever he talked, it just seemed, I don't know, magical and fabulous. And so I'm thinking right now of this one time I came home, and Greg had started to get sick. And this thing happened with that lesion, the KS, the Kaposi sarcoma. It had been on his feet. And it seemed like that didn't mean he was sick. But in fact, that meant he was getting sick, that he now had AIDS. And it was rising up his body. Like, I used to think it looks like he's a drowning man. And one time I came home and he had smashed all the furniture in the house. And I thought, I can't live here anymore. I gotta go, But I didn't. And the reason I didn't, and it's funny that's making me emotional now, because I've told this story a million times. But I guess that's the thing of being me now, looking back at all of it another way. But the thing is, Greg was the first person who ever told me I was smart and beautiful. And I believed him. It landed. And also, God, I hate that I'm getting emotional. I also became an artist there, They said, "You're an artist, Annie. You're not..." Ah, thank you. You're not a weirdo. I mean, we're all weirdos, but there's nothing wrong with you. What you are is an artist. And it was incredible. So I stayed, and Greg did all kinds of gnarly shit, and Bill just cleaned up after him over and over, and I just sort of bounced around being wasted and trying to act like it was all okay, until they had to bring a hospital bed into the room, into the house. And there were diapers and weird shit, cans of Ensure, not, champagne like we used to have. And so I couldn't, like we say, I couldn't bear it. And I left. I moved out. I moved in with a girl my age, because they were 10, 15 years older than me. They were in their 30s, so they were really old, Greg and Bill. And so I moved in with this girl, Tanya, who is my age, and we both wore thrift shop dresses, and we went to parties with bands that were called Carve and Trench. We loved these silly punk rock boys, right? And I just was away from Greg and Bill, and very shortly after, I found out Greg died in an ambulance when he was 35. And then 2 months later, my dad died. And I wasn't with either one of them. I wasn't with Greg because I was too young. I couldn't be in his dying and what that was like. And I wasn't with my dad because I was mad at him, right? Like we are in our 20s. And I think now, at this age, looking back at it, I missed important opportunities. I missed them. And really, I want to say, you guys, and the silver lining is, the gift is, there's no gift. I'm just getting older. And I'm looking at my life again. And I guess, I'm struggling right now to tell you something that I've learned from it. And all I can say is that I have a better understanding of what an important opportunity is. And what's just bullshit doesn't matter. I guess that's what's happening for me, is understanding what is significant to me and what is, just stupid. And I feel like right now in this moment, this is significant to be with all of you. I love you guys. I love getting to tell stories. I love getting to be here. And yeah, I feel fucking weird about telling a story this way because I'm usually much funnier. But that's what I have, and I love you. Thanks.